by the Conservative Brexiteer, Sir Bernard Jenkin. I mean, let's start with Michael Fallon's comments. Significant?
Highly significant. He was not one of the names on our list of likely rebels, and I think that just demonstrates how the authority of what the Prime Minister has negotiated is collapsing.
Do you sense that on the backbenches she is losing rather than gaining support?
Well, we'll wait and see. I mean, the traditional thing is the number of suspects who are going to rebel against the government tends to crumble towards the actual vote. The Prime Minister's obviously chosen to play it long and to appeal over the heads of her party and her members of Parliament to the country at large. She's got a lot of personal sympathy for the problems she faces, but the polls are quite clear. They don't like this deal. While people feel sympathy for her, it doesn't necessarily reflect in what they think should happen next.
So Michael Fallon was asked the question, if the deal is doomed, is she doomed? Let me put that question to you.
Well, I thought his answer that that's a matter for my colleagues was rather prophetic. Let's see what happens in the vote. If it's very close and she's able to go back to Brussels and tweak the deal to deal with, for example, the backstop, and then bring it back to the House of Commons, she may yet survive. If it's a massive and crushing defeat, well, that's the other end of the spectrum. If it's somewhere in between, we'll have to wait and see. But the big problem is, if she gets this deal through, the DUP have said they're going to review the coalition agreement. So a lot of colleagues are thinking, I better not vote for this deal because it could mean the end of the coalition. And she's not explaining in any fashion what would happen if she gets the deal through.
Let's just talk about Donald Trump too. I mean, he's wrong, actually, because the political declaration states explicitly that the UK government will be able to develop its own independent trade policy.
Well, it all depends what you mean by an independent trade policy. We've got a Department for International Trade, and it's promoting British trade, but it's not able to do a 360-degree comprehensive free trade agreement because you need control over your domestic regulation and product standards in order to be able to dismantle what the other party regards as the non-tariff barriers in your product standards, and you need to be able to adjust your tariff rates because you trade off your tariff rates as part of the deal. Neither of those things are available now, and under the withdrawal agreement, neither of those things will be available. You know, some people argue in the backstop the UK could have that, but of course that would mean a regulatory border down the Irish Sea, which no Prime Minister could support, so that's not going to happen. So we're stuck in a deal where we could be stuck in the customs union, stuck with EU products and standards, and therefore unable to do a proper free trade deal with the United States, which is what they want.
And briefly, the idea of a TV debate between Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, this is Downing Street trying to polarise the debate between Labour and Conservative, and it's very easy for the media and the BBC to just see the debate as that. Here's one in favour of the deal, one against the deal. Here's one in Labour, one in Conservative. But actually it's rather more complicated than that. You've got two Remain politicians, both supported Remain. Where is the 52% represented in this debate that voted Leave? And I think that broadcasters have got a bit of a dilemma here because...
Would it be subject to a legal challenge, do you think, if there was that simple head-to-head debate between Mrs May and Jeremy Corbyn?
I'm not an expert on legal challenges, but I think the majority of people, this is not like people are being informed in advance of their voting, like a general election or a referendum. I think people will be rather turned off by the debate, and they will say, well, why are they bothering to have to debate? Why don't they just get on with it and decide it themselves? Because that's what we're paid to do.
OK, Bernard Jenkin, thanks.